So picture this scenario for a second. You or, maybe someone is navigating the incredibly complex, just totally overwhelming world of fertility.
Oh, yeah, it is a lot.
It really is. And you are doing absolutely everything by the book. You're trying to optimize egg quality. You're scrutinizing sperm quality, tracking cycles with just military precision.
Right, taking your basal body temperature every single morning.
Exactly. Just generally stressing over every little variable. And then inevitably, a well-meaning friend or a family member comes up to you and suggests, hey, have you tried letting someone stick you with needles and drinking some herbal tea?
Yeah, and I mean, if you are steeped in the modern medical system, which, most of us are, your first reaction to that is probably just a polite, tight-lipped smile.
Oh, 100%.
Internally, you're likely thinking, I am dealing with highly complex reproductive biology here. I mean, I'm not trying to cure a bad mood. I need hard science, not ancient folklore.
Right. Because it sounds like something you do to unwind at a day spa on a weekend. Not a serious, measurable medical intervention for starting a family.
Exactly.
But when you actually dive into the clinical reports, the scoping reviews on infertility and the practical data coming out of fertility care providers, like the Berkeley Center, the science paints a completely different picture.
It really does. It's fascinating.
And so that is our mission for this deep dive. We are going to unpack the specific physiological mechanisms. We want to know the actual how and why behind using acupuncture and herbal medicine to improve fertility.
Because we really have to move past this persistent and frankly kind of dismissive myth that these therapies are just about relaxation.
Right, it's just as a nap.
Yeah, they aren't. We are looking at biologically active interventions. I mean, they are physically altering blood flow, they are communicating with the nervous system, and they're protecting the actual DNA integrity of reproductive cells for both men and women.
Okay, let's unpack this, because there is a massive gap between getting poked with a tiny needle and, protecting DNA integrity.
There is, yeah.
So let's start with the immediate physical intervention acupuncture. Before we get into the long-term effects, I really want to understand what is happening inside the human body during a treatment.
Sure.
The clinical literature notes that the moment a needle goes in, it activates 4 main pathways: the nervous system, the vascular system, the endocrine system, and inflammatory pathways.
Let's break that down a bit because it does sound like a laundry list of medical terms.
That's a lot.
When an acupuncturist inserts a needle into specific anatomical points, they are actually creating a microtrauma.
Oh, wow, okay.
Right, and that tiny insertion stimulates local nerve endings. Those nerves then immediately send a rapid-fire signal up the spinal cord and straight into the brain.
Wait, I need to stop you there. You're saying acupuncture works by creating trauma and stimulating nerves.
Yes, exactly.
But for a lot of people, the very idea of getting poked with needles is inherently stressful. How is that not triggering the exact fight or flight stress response we are usually trying to avoid when dealing with infertility?
That is a very valid point, and I mean, it seems counterintuitive at first glance. But the signal that reaches the brain from these specific points doesn't trigger panic.
It doesn't.
No, it actually triggers the release of endorphins and enkephalins, which are the body's natural painkillers and mood regulators.
Oh, I see.
And taking that a step further, this biochemical shift tells the autonomic nervous system to dial down the sympathetic response. That's your fight or flight.
Right.
And instead, it ramps up the parasympathetic response, which is your rest and digest state.
So it's essentially a biohack. You're using a tiny physical stimulus to force the brain to hit the override switch on the body's stress levels.
You are. And that directly impacts the endocrine system, the hormones. When your body is chronically stressed, your adrenal glands are just pumping out cortisol.
The stress hormone.
Exactly. And from an evolutionary standpoint, if you are, say, running from a predator, your body decides that right now is a terrible time to reproduce.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's survive first.
Right. It restricts resources to the reproductive organs. By forcing that parasympathetic shift, acupuncture lowers that cortisol, signaling to the body, hey, we are safe. We have the resources to prioritize the reproductive environment.
And that brings us to the vascular system, which the data heavily emphasizes for female fertility. The clinical reports explicitly link acupuncture to improved ovarian and uterine blood flow.
They do, yes.
So if I'm trying to visualize this, if the cortisol drop is telling the body it's safe to open the roads, the vascular response is like traffic control. You're setting up detours to route the heavy traffic of blood flow directly to the ovaries and uterus.
That analogy works really well, but let's look at the mechanics of how that traffic is actually being rerouted. The nervous system stimulation we just talked about also prompts the release of nitric oxide in the blood vessels. Nitric oxide is a powerful vasodilator. It physically relaxes and widens the blood vessels.
So you are literally expanding the highways leading to the reproductive organ.
Yes, and think about what increased blood flow actually achieves on a cellular level. Blood is the delivery system for oxygen, vital nutrients, and hormones.
Right, the good stuff.
But, just as importantly, it is the waste removal system. Developing cells produce metabolic byproducts. If those aren't cleared out, the local environment basically becomes toxic.
So by increasing that traffic to the ovaries, you are delivering more of the raw materials the egg needs to develop, and you are constantly flushing out the cellular garbage.
Precisely.
I was looking at some of the recent clinical trials in the source stack where they actually measured this, and they explicitly linked this improved ovarian blood flow to better egg viability and better clinical outcomes. It's not just a theoretical benefit.
No, it translates directly to the health of the follicle. And this is exactly why it is considered a systemic therapy, not just a localized one.
Interesting.
You aren't just treating a symptom, you are fundamentally changing the physical environment in which the egg is trying to grow.
Okay, I'm tracking with the physical restructuring of the roads. You optimize the traffic flow, but traffic control is only effective while the traffic cop is actively standing in the intersection blowing the whistle.
Right, of course.
You can't get acupuncture 24 hours a day, so what happens on a Tuesday night when you're at home? If an egg takes time to develop, a weekly session doesn't seem like enough to sustain that environment.
And this naturally leads us to the second half of the clinical approach herbal medicine.
Oh, okay.
The development of an egg, a process called follicle maturation, doesn't happen overnight. It is a really long cycle.
How long are we talking?
Well, a follicle just takes around 3 to 4 months to fully mature before it's ready to release an egg.
Wow. And just so we're clear, the follicle is the little fluid-filled sac in the ovary that actually holds the developing egg.
That's right.
So maturation is that sac growing, developing the egg inside, and preparing to rupture during ovulation.
Correct. And that 100-day journey requires immense continuous biological support. While acupuncture regulates the overarching systems and blood flow, the herbal compounds step in to provide ongoing daily biochemical support.
So they fill in the gaps.
Exactly. The clinical literature highlights that these herbs act on several specific fronts. They provide antioxidant defense, reduce the inflammatory burden, assist mitochondrial energy production, and help regulate hormone metabolism.
So if acupuncture is the physical restructuring of the highways, herbal medicine is the premium fuel you are putting in the car to keep the engine running smoothly between pit stops.
It's a very apt way to look at it. Let's focus on that premium fuel aspect, specifically regarding mitochondrial energy production.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
The process of an egg maturing and later dividing if it gets fertilized is one of the most energy-intensive processes in the entire human body.
Because the egg is a massive cell compared to everything else, right? It takes a lot of juice to run it.
It is the largest cell in the human body, and the mitochondria are the microscopic powerhouses inside that cell.
Okay.
If those powerhouses aren't producing enough energy ATP, the egg simply won't mature properly. Or, even if it does mature and is fertilized, it won't have the cellular energy required to divide correctly.
And if it doesn't divide correctly, that's when you run into major issues, I'd imagine.
That is the primary cause of chromosomal abnormalities. An embryo with chromosomal abnormalities will usually fail to implant, or it will result in an early miscarriage.
Oh, man. That's heavy.
It is. But by providing daily herbal medicine that actively assists mitochondrial function, you are directly fueling the most critical, vulnerable phase of early reproduction.
And the sources note this biochemical support goes beyond just the egg itself. It also promotes menstrual regularity and endometrial receptivity.
Yes, it does.
Endometrial receptivity meaning getting the uterine lining ready for a fertilized egg to actually attach and grow.
Exactly. You can have a perfectly healthy, genetically normal embryo, but if the uterine lining, the endometrium, is inflamed, or if it isn't biochemically signaling receptivity, the embryo will just bounce right off.
Wow.
Implantation will fail. The continuous use of herbal medicine ensures that the internal environment remains hospitable day in and day out, lowering the local inflammatory burden so the uterus is actually welcoming to the embryo.
So up to this point, we've focused heavily on the female reproductive environment. And honestly, in mainstream conversations about fertility struggles, the burden usually falls almost entirely on the woman.
Unfortunately, yes, it's very common.
But fertilization requires two viable components. And here's where it gets really interesting, because the data shows these exact same traditional therapies target the male side of the fertility equation just as aggressively.
The male side is so often oversimplified. We tend to ignore it until there is a glaring, catastrophic issue on a semen analysis. But male factor infertility is a massive piece of the puzzle, and the clinical reports demonstrate that acupuncture and herbal medicine are highly active interventions here as well.
So what exactly are they doing for men?
For men, acupuncture improves testicular circulation and lowers oxidative stress.
Let me jump in on oxidative stress, because that is a buzzword you hear in every health space, usually tied to aging or diet. Can we clarify what it actually means in the context of sperm?
Absolutely.
If we stick with the car analogy, is oxidative stress like rust forming on an engine block before it damages the core machinery? And for a sperm cell, that core machinery is the DNA payload.
This raises an important point about the unique biology of sperm. Your rust analogy is spot on. Sperm cells are essentially highly specialized microscopic delivery vehicles.
Okay.
Their only job is to transport half of the genetic code to the egg. Because they need to be extremely small and fast, they have stripped away almost all of their cytoplasm.
Which is the fluid inside the cell that usually contains defensive mechanisms, right?
Yes, so they have almost no cellular defense of their own.
So they are traveling incredibly light, all engine, no armor.
Exactly. And oxidative stress occurs when there is an imbalance in the body, creating an excess of free radicals. These are highly unstable molecules that bounce around and physically damage cellular structures.
Acting exactly like corrosive rust.
Exactly like rust. If those free radicals penetrate the sperm, they attack the genetic material inside. This results in something called DNA fragmentation.
Wow. So even if a sperm cell looks perfectly fine under a microscope, and even if it successfully swims all the way to the egg, the actual instruction manual inside of it is completely scrambled.
Yes, and high DNA fragmentation is a leading cause of unexplained infertility and recurrent pregnancy loss.
That's incredible.
This is why lowering oxidative stress is so vital. Herbal medicine strengthens sperm production by providing robust antioxidant activity. It supplies the molecules that neutralize those free radicals, essentially acting as an anti-rust coating.
That makes total sense.
It also controls testicular inflammation, balances testosterone and other hormones, and boosts that same cellular energy production we discussed with the egg.
Which the sperm desperately need. I mean, it is a massive physical journey for a microscopic cell. They need those mitochondrial engines firing on all cylinders just to make the distance.
They absolutely do.
I was looking through the clinical reports focused entirely on male fertility, and they track some really specific metrics when evaluating combined acupuncture and herbal care. They look at improvements in sperm count, motility, morphology, and liquefaction.
Let's contextualize those. Count is simply the sheer volume of sperm available. Motility is how effectively they swim forward, rather than swimming in circles or just staying stagnant.
Right.
And morphology refers to their physical shape. Do they have a normal head and a functioning tail to penetrate the egg?
So those three make intuitive sense. But what about liquefaction? That is not a term you hear thrown around at dinner parties.
No, it's not. But liquefaction is a fascinating yet completely overlooked metric. When semen is first ejaculated, it is thick and coagulated. It is essentially a gel.
Oh, really?
Yes, this is an evolutionary mechanism designed to help the fluid adhere to the cervix and not immediately leak out.
Okay, well that makes sense biologically. But they can't swim if they're stuck in a gel.
They can't. So within about 15 to 30 minutes, enzymes secreted by the prostate are supposed to break down that gel and turn it into a liquid.
Oh, liquefaction.
Exactly. This frees the sperm to begin their journey up into the uterus. If liquefaction is delayed or if it doesn't happen completely, those healthy motile sperm are basically trapped.
They're literally stuck in the mud. I mean, they could be Olympic swimmers, but it doesn't matter. The pool is full of gelatin.
Precisely. So when the data reports significant improvements across all these metrics, concentration, motility, morphology, liquefaction, and DNA integrity, it proves that this combined therapy is addressing the male reproductive system holistically.
It's doing a lot.
It isn't just a volume game. It is protecting the DNA payload, ensuring the physical structure is optimal for swimming, providing the mitochondrial energy for the journey, and optimizing the fluid dynamics so they can actually leave the starting gate.
I am continually amazed by how intricate this entire system is.
Okay.
Okay, so we've established the hardware side of things. Acupuncture physically alters the nervous system, expands blood flow, and dials back the stress hormones.
Right.
And we have the fuel side. Herbal medicine provides constant daily biochemical and mitochondrial support to protect DNA and lower inflammation for both partners.
The foundation is totally set.
Right. But how does this translate to the highly clinical, incredibly modern arena of assisted reproductive treatments? I'm talking about IVF in vitro fertilization, or IUI.
That's a great question.
Because these are massive medical interventions. I imagine a lot of people think their reproductive endocrinologist isn't going to want them messing around with alternative therapies while undergoing a $20,000 medical cycle.
It's a very common fear, but the clinical reviews we are looking at are very clear on this integration. The absolute best outcomes actually occur when acupuncture and herbal medicine are used in tandem with modern medicine.
Well, in tandem.
Yes. The acupuncture manages the neurological regulation and local circulation, while the herbs provide the continuous internal biochemical support.
Okay.
When you map those traditional tools onto assisted reproductive treatments, you are creating a significantly stronger, more resilient environment for implantation and overall clinical success.
So what does this all mean for someone who is actually sitting in a waiting room, getting ready to start an IVF cycle right now? It sounds to me like we need to stop viewing this as an either-or scenario. It's not a choice between ancient Eastern medicine or cutting-edge Western medicine.
You're not in the slightest. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it has to be a highly integrative approach. Look at what IVF actually entails.
It's intense.
It is an undeniable feat of modern medical engineering, but it is also extraordinarily taxing on the human body.
The physical and emotional toll is massive. You're giving yourself daily hormone injections to force the body to do something it naturally wouldn't do, which is mature multiple eggs at once.
Yes, you are manipulating hormones at incredibly high, supraphysiologic levels. Then you undergo a surgical procedure to retrieve the eggs, which inherently causes local inflammation and trauma to the ovaries.
Yes, surgery is trauma.
And then a few days or weeks later, you are trying to reintroduce a delicate embryo back into a body that has just been through a gauntlet of medical stress.
And as we discussed earlier, if the body feels stressed and inflamed, it shuts down the reproductive priority. It puts up a biological do not enter sign.
Which is exactly why the integration of these therapies into assisted reproductive care is so crucial. The data highlights their specific ability to regulate the resulting hormone fluctuations, restore healthy reproductive blood flow after the trauma of retrieval, and critically, reduce the overarching systemic stress during fertility care process.
So you are essentially doing damage control while simultaneously prepping the soil. You are giving the IVF procedure the absolute best possible biological environment to do its job.
Exactly.
You aren't fighting the medical intervention, you are rolling out the red carpet for it.
You are mitigating the inflammatory and stress responses that so often hinder a successful implantation, and you are providing the deep cellular mitochondrial energy required for that transferred embryo to take hold, divide, and thrive. It is a profound clinical synergy.
This completely changes the paradigm of how we should look at fertility care.
It really does.
To wrap this all up, if you take nothing else away from this deep dive, remember this. Acupuncture and herbal medicine are far, far more than just relaxing spa treatments. They are biologically active, measurable interventions.
Absolutely.
They physically expand blood vessels. They hit the override switch on the nervous system's stress response. They boost mitochondrial energy so massive reproductive cells can divide properly. And they act as an anti-rust shield, protecting the absolute core DNA integrity of both the egg and the sperm.
Beautifully said.
They are actively creating an optimal, nourished environment for natural conception, and they are preparing the ultimate resilient foundation for modern assisted treatments to succeed.
It's a vital shift in how we understand the mechanics of these therapies, and I want to leave you with one final thing to ponder based on the biology we've unpacked today.
Ooh, all right. Lay it on us.
The clinical sources continuously emphasize that these traditional therapies work largely by optimizing mitochondrial energy production and drastically lowering oxidative stress.
Right, boosting the powerhouses and clearing out the cellular rust.
But here's the thing to consider. Mitochondria are the powerhouses of all our cells, not just our reproductive cells.
Okay.
And oxidative stress, that cellular rust, is recognized as the primary biological driver of aging and disease everywhere else in the human body. Your brain, your heart, your skin.
Wait, I think I see where you're going with this.
If you are aggressively utilizing these specific targeted therapies to lower oxidative rust and boost the cellular engines with the sole goal of optimizing your fertility, could you inadvertently be turning back the biological clock on the rest of your body's cells too?
Okay, now my mind is officially blown. You go in thinking you are just trying to fix a specific, isolated fertility roadblock with some needles and herbs, and it turns out you might be fundamentally upgrading your entire cellular machinery from the ground up.
It's a pretty amazing thought.
Science is amazing. The next time someone casually mentions traditional medicine for fertility, you can confidently tell them the science is in and is doing some very, very heavy lifting. We will catch you on the next deep dive.